All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Cassandra Evans. I'm a graduate student in the nutrition program at Nova Southeastern University and soon to be a registered dietitian.
Hi, we're so happy to be hosting this webinar today. The topic is going to be navigating COVID-19 through nutrition. My name is Jessie Brownstein. I'm also in the RDN Professional Practice concentration in the NSU Master Nutrition Program. Really exciting is that we'll be graduating next year, becoming registered dietitians. So with the onset of COVID-19, so many aspects of our lives have changed, from how we grocery shop to how we go to work, to finding toilet paper. There's a lot of different things going on out there. And during this time, we wanted to share with you some of the most up-to-date advice and tips for staying healthy. This webinar is actually going to be the first in a series offered by the NSU Division of Advancement and Community Relations. And the goal is to be a resource to alumni, supporters everywhere, and really the NSU community at large. This stream is actually going to be recorded, so for anyone who would like to share it or review it after, you'll be able to, and you can access that through the NSU Alumni Association. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in. If you have any questions, please make sure to type them in the question box. That we would really love to hear what you have to say and give as much information as we possibly can, and there'll be a Q&A session at the end. So some of the key points that we're going to go over today are COVID-19 in general, some of the CDC recommendations, healthy eating and what that looks like, especially in the context of National Nutrition Month, which is March, nutrition and immune health, grocery shopping tips, and some recipes that are going to be easy to prepare in your home and can even involve others in your household. So the coronavirus disease 2019, I'm going to keep this part brief. We have a policy in our home to not watch the news excessively. I'm sure a lot of you might feel similarly, but we like to keep our stress levels down. But it's a novel coronavirus, and it was first identified in an outbreak in China, and that's currently what so much is causing a lot of the shutdown of different restaurants, workplaces, industries, and why we're here today to talk to you about this. So the CDC recommendations. I know all of you might have heard this. I'm sure it's posted everywhere. But as something I like to say is, who remembers when they were a kid when your mom would say, "Did you wash your hands? Did you? Did you?" So that's kind of like what the CDC recommendations are. Constant, like, motherly reminder of things that we need to do. So washing your hands for a minimum of 20 seconds. Our go-to is singing happy birthday 2 times. You could also sing the ABCs. Choose your song, it's your pick. Make sure that you avoid touching your eyes, nose, mouth with unwashed hands. Social distancing. I'm just going to use the term that we like to use in our family of physical distancing, because the truth is we're all social. We're still social. We're being social right now. And the physical distance is what's really important. Stay home if you're sick. Practice good health habits. And this is what I want to capitalize on here, is stick to healthful food choices. This is really huge. The CDC recommends healthy food choices as part of good health habits. So that's what we're going to really focus on today, as well as disinfecting surfaces, getting plenty of sleep, and making sure as best you can to stay physically active under these current conditions. Okay, so to eat is a necessity, but to eat intelligently is an art. I really like this quote. La Rochefoucauld was actually a French nobleman who eventually became a prince, but he was known for his memoirs and maxims. And the reason that we chose this one is because eating well is artful, and it's a skill. It's something that you can learn. Some people are born with like a healthy palate. Those are just the taste that they enjoy, but not everyone is like that. And part of the tips and advice and things we're going to go through today is really to give you the tools and the skills to be able to eat artfully and really create that masterpiece on your plate without spending too much time in the kitchen, and so you can really focus and do the things that are most important on your priority list. So this is going to segue us into National Nutrition Month, which is March. We have a few days left, so we're excited that we can give this webinar during this time period. And the theme for this year's National Nutrition Month is Bite by Bite. I really, really like that phrase. 3 words, very simple, a lot of imagery in those words there, but what we want to bring out from it is that every bite is an opportunity to make a choice to nourish your body in the best way possible. And some of the things that National Nutrition Month this year is going to go through is actually ways to encourage those bites that you're taking to really be the best for you and for all your loved ones and everyone in your family. So some of the things that we're going to explore are eating a variety of nutritious foods every day, learning skills to create tasty meals, and planning meals for the week. So we're going to elaborate on each of these points, specifically in the context of National Nutrition Month and how that can ultimately help you during this current pandemic right now. Okay, so first of all, eat a variety of nutritious nutrients every day. Every food group counts, okay? So including healthful foods from all the food group is what's going to best set you up for success. Hydrating healthfully. So this is one of my favorites. I'm known to be the person who never goes anywhere without my water bottle. See, it's here right next to me. So I'm a big advocate and proponent of getting a reusable water bottle. I cannot stress that enough. It's good for you. It's good for sustainability and the environment. And the truth of the matter is, as we'll get into this a little bit more, is the more that you have something around you on hand, the more likely you are to be able to use it, drink it, benefit from it. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Learn how to read nutrition fact panels. I'm going to really stress that one. They're called nutrition fact panels for a reason. Notice the word fact in the word, okay? So when you see an item, I wish I had a bag of chips here to show you, but they'll be like cholesterol free, best thing to eat post-workout. Companies can say whatever they want on the front of a product, but when it comes to the back, those are the hard and fast facts. They're tested, they're approved, and that's what's going to give you the most insight to be really an educated consumer, a shopper, in the store when you're comparing what it is that you want to buy. So learning that sort of information, there's plenty of resources out there. We're happy to talk about that after, is really beneficial. Practice portion control. I smile when I say this because I think it's a struggle for everyone, but I like to say this in conjunction with taking time to enjoy your food, mostly because being mindful is real. Taking time to sit down and eat your food, taking time to take a breath before you start eating, taking time to check in with how you're feeling, if you're hungry or not, that in of itself really is going to enable you to practice that proper portion control. So oftentimes in our house, when we're eating dinner, whether the food is on the table or in the kitchen and someone wants a refill, we'll say, just take a minute, take 3 breaths, think about it, like check in with yourself, and then move on to whether or not you're actually hungry or not. Okay, so learning skills to create tasty meals. So healthful ingredients on hand, that can be challenging now, and my classmate Cassie is going to speak more about that in a bit. But now that we're home more, being able to have things within reach that are healthful are going to be more likely what you reach for. Of course, the store is the first place where you can actually decide whether something enters your home or not. But once you're in your home, you can make that choice. The things that may not be as nutritionally beneficial, so put them higher up so you can kind of think twice about whether that's the item that you really want in that moment. Additionally, practicing proper food safety at home is extremely important. The amount of food poisoning and foodborne illnesses that happen just from the home not being clean. And again, I'm not saying that you haven't done dishes for a week, but if you're dealing with raw meat and the countertop isn't clean after, so that could be an issue for cross-contamination with things that are raw versus what's cooked if you're working with eggs or other products. So making sure to wash your hands before you work with food, during and after, depending what substance you're using. Sharing meals together as a family when possible. So hopefully that's encouraged now with people being in their home. Hopefully the meals are enjoyable and not stressful and frustrating. But family time together can have the potential to encourage healthy eating, especially for those people who might have children and they're wondering, how do I encourage those healthy habits? So them seeing you, social eating is a real thing for children to be able to see their parents eating vegetables, for siblings to be eating vegetables around them. It encourages that behavior. So it's really a special time to be able to share a meal together. And lastly, reducing food waste and adding new flavors to foods. So you can really get creative. If you're peeling a bunch of things for some sort of salad or other dish, keep the scraps. You can put them in a gallon freezer bag, keep them in your freezer, and then eventually when that bag is full, you can make this awesome vegetable stock from all these things that are already handmade for you. In the state of Florida, we don't require composting, but you can start it. Now's the time. Start a garden. My friend Cassie made a garden in 5 minutes, so it's really possible. And you can use those things from your kitchen to actually be more sustainable on or around your home. And lastly, as I said before, trying new flavors is going to be super important to help you to be able to diversify your food. Vegetables don't need to be boring. When you walk into Publix, you'll see like rows and rows and rows of different kinds of vegetables. So play around with them. Walk down the spice aisle. Just, close your eyes, take something that you haven't had before and see how you can mix it in. It keeps things interesting. So planning your meals each week is one way to really help you in a lot of different areas. It can help you with your time. It can help you with how much money you're spending in the grocery store. And it can help you with kind of being really prepared for the week. So having a grocery list is a simple way to kind of stay on track to what's going to be most helpful to your home in that moment. I'm sure you've heard this before, but don't go grocery shopping hungry. I'm a victim of that often, but like eat that power bar before, have a snack before you go a little bit later. You're going to be more likely to give in to what you might be craving or certain flavors or tastes because you haven't eaten yet. Being menu savvy when dining out, or really for our circumstances right now, ordering in, that's really important. Survey the whole menu. Take that moment, take that breath, and think about, how am I going to feel after I eat that item? Am I going to feel good? Am I going to feel happy? Am I going to feel full, satiated? Really think about those options, because eating out, even though it can be a treat, it can still be something that's nutritional and beneficial to you. Choose healthful recipes to make during the week. So you're going to hear this a lot, but a lot of nutrition is just taking 5 minutes of planning, 5 minutes of forethought to really create a lot of benefits to you and in your body and in your home for making sure that you're nourished in the most healthful way possible. So if it's one new recipe a week, or if that's too much, every 2 weeks your family sits down, chooses a recipe. If you have different themed dinner nights, there's a lot of things that you can do to be able to create that sense of new foods and making sure that they're healthful for you. Enjoying healthful eating at school and work. So this can be challenging to pack your lunch, but right now a lot of people are home. So something that we like to do to kind of create less time in the kitchen is making extra dinner and using that for lunch the following day. So if that's like a routine placed in your home, it can be really, really helpful. Making double batches of things, freezing extras, those are all different ways to kind of make sure that that's fulfilled. And planning healthful eating while traveling. Again, this is limited right now, but it's a similar idea in that just 5 minutes of thinking beforehand can really help you on that 2-hour drive or 3-hour plane flight later on.
So I'm here and I'm going to cover a couple tips to help us support our immune health. So I just want to make sure or reiterate that we all know that supporting our immune health does help us, our body's natural defense system, but it's not going to guarantee prevention from anything. It's not going to guarantee to cure anything. It's more or less one of the tools that you can use in your arsenal for staying healthy. So a couple of the things that we want to do to support our immune health is, as we mentioned, eating a variety of different fruits and vegetables so we get all the nutrients that our body needs. Non-nutrition related, getting adequate sleep is actually important for our immune system as well. The same with physical activity. So I know with being confined to our homes, or a lot of us are right now, it can be a little bit challenging to, get that physical fitness in. But, there are things that we don't even think of that can be counted as you moving it about, so even something as, cleaning your house or doing yard work. There are a slew of YouTube videos available right now, even for something as simple as stretching. So there are ways that you can still be physically active. Trying your best to reduce stress. And I know, especially right now, that can be very challenging. Nutrition can help with that, but more importantly, physical activity and making sure you get enough sleep also can play in to your ability to reduce your stress. And then there are key nutrients, some of which we'll cover right now, that will support your body's immune system. And so it's really about doing what you can to support your body's ability to fight off certain infections. So the first thing I want to talk about is protein. So I know a few of you are probably like, protein, like that's essential for my immune system. And generally speaking, sometimes, or at least I have an exercise science background, we generally associate, protein with um, bodybuilding or getting big muscles, but it's actually needed in our body for cell repair and growth. And protein malnutrition, or in other words, not consuming enough of protein, will actually compromise your immune system. And so we know right now more than ever, we don't want to have a compromised immune system, even if we are social distancing or staying home. So a few of the food sources where you can get protein, we generally think, meat, chicken, turkey, eggs, fish, but also there are some plant-based proteins as well. So they could be soybeans or tofu, even tempeh. But it is important to remember that if you are going to be consuming plant-based proteins, you want to make sure that you're pairing them with other plant-based proteins so you get that full, complete protein that you need. The next one is vitamin C. So I'm sure we all associate vitamin C probably with colds. I know I do. Growing up, anytime I started to feel sick or complain about feeling sick, the first thing my dad did was, hand me an orange or tell me to boost up my vitamin C. Still does that, even though I'm older and adult now. I'll call my dad and he'll say, "Did you take vitamin C?" So it's a powerful antioxidant. And so it really can help our body fight off certain cell damage. But they do show that consuming fruits and vegetables that are high in vitamin C is actually linked to a lower risk for cardiovascular disease as well as cancer. And it's really important to remember that it's actually the vegetables and fruits that are high in vitamin C and not just the supplement alone. And, some people might think, well, oh, that, maybe that's too much work. How much, vitamin C am I getting in one vegetable? But, you can rest assured that just 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day will give you approximately 3 or 2 times the amount of recommended vitamin C that you need. So a couple food sources of vitamin C is, we probably know, citrus, so oranges, lemons, also kiwis, bell peppers, broccoli, and cantaloupe. And so there is some research that suggests that vitamin C is linked to a shorter duration in cold symptoms. But it is noted once again that this is regular consumption of fruits and vegetables with vitamin C. So this is not like, oh, I'm sick, let me start eating, a bunch of vitamin C fruits and vegetables now. The other one that we're going to touch on today, as I mentioned, there are more than just the 3 that we're going over, is vitamin D. So vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. Surprisingly, you can get it from the sun and food. Very interesting to learn is that individuals that have less than adequate vitamin D intake actually have a higher number of respiratory infections throughout the year. As we know, COVID-19 is a respiratory infection. So this is another, nutrient that we really do want to pay attention to. There are food sources, fatty fishes, fortified foods. So you'll find those in dairy, OJ, and grains. But also 10 to 15 minutes of unprotected sunlight. So as I mentioned, there's probably a lot of us right now that are at home. A good number, or at least for myself, I'm here in Florida, the Sunshine State. So just something as simple as stepping out in your backyard for 15 minutes helps get that vitamin D intake. The sun, being outside might help de-stress you a little bit. So just all around another reason just to try to take a step outside and kind of enjoy nature. So next thing that we want to talk about is some strategies for grocery shopping. So I know that probably most of us are trying to limit the amount of times that we're going to a grocery store. Maybe we used to go a couple times throughout the week. Now we're trying to go every other week. So a couple things that, I just want to remind you of is, first, make nutrition a priority. So one of the things that I noticed when I went to Publix is that the junk food aisle was cleared. And as a fellow Floridian and preparing for hurricanes and always getting those hurricane snacks, I can know how tempting it is to, reach for the potato chips, reach for the candy. But, we're really lucky that we're not at risk of losing power. And so we really want to utilize the tools that we have. So when you have the ability to buy fresh produce, by all means, buy it. Do, buy a few shelf stable pantry items. I don't want anyone to panic or feel the need that they have to hoard anything, but you can shop smart. So just a couple shelf stable pantry items, nut butters, shelf stable milk. They even have plant-based milks. If for whatever reason your store happens to be out of it, it's okay. You can also, buy the milk in the refrigerated area, and you can put it in a separate container and freeze it for later as well. Different grains like quinoa, rice, pasta, oatmeal, coffee, even some beans and legumes. So I do want to touch on specifically produce, because throughout this entire, presentation, we've really talked to you about the importance of consuming fruits and vegetables. And, with you limiting your time at the grocery store, you might think, okay, well, how am I supposed to do that? Fresh vegetables and fruit, they only last so long, And so, yes, we typically like or prefer fresh because it tastes better. It can be higher in nutrients so long as it hasn't been sitting in, your fridge for an extended period of time. But there is some risk for spoilage if you don't eat it right away. So if you are going to the grocery store, don't shy away from the fresh produce. You can just eat that, the first couple days that you're home. A couple things though to remember, especially now than ever, we should always be washing our fresh produce from Publix or whatever grocery store that you're going to. But if it's not already cut and prepared in a container, make sure that you're washing it. We're really harping on, wash your hands, but also remember other people are going to be touching this produce. So make sure that, you're washing it when you get home as well. The next thing is frozen. So frozen and canned, for some reason, they sometimes get a bad rap. But they're not. They're a great alternative. And I even prefer frozen strawberries sometimes over fresh ones, especially in my smoothies. The great thing about frozen is that they're picked at like the peak freshness, and then they're oftentimes cut right there and prepared. So when they come in the bag, they're already, cut and diced and ready to go. And then you just, get that max amount of nutrients. Great for stir fries, soups, and smoothies. And then canned. So canned, there is some heating in the canning process, and so it might lose a few of the less stable nutrients, but it's still packed with nutrients, and I can promise you, packed with more nutrients than junk food. There are some that are higher in sodium, so your choices can be either to buy the low sodium, or even if you rinse off what you're getting, just wash the vegetables or drain the liquid and rinse them in water, and that will also remove some of the sodium. And another thing to remember is wash the outside of the can. I know that sounds like silly, but everyone, the same way that we're touching the different produce, people are going to be touching the cans as well. So make sure that you're going to be washing the outside of your can before you use it. This is just a quick visual to kind of let you compare fresh, frozen, and canned. So you can see that, you're not, always fruits and vegetables is what we want to, press over junk food. And so, there are specific vitamins. For instance, vitamin K is going to be higher in the can. This is for peas. Than compared to, frozen or fresh. Like I mentioned with fresh, remember, if you're not eating it right away, the longer that it sits in your fridge, the less nutrient content that it's going to have. So you guys can see that, they all are pretty comparable.
Okay, so moving on to COVID-19 recipe hacks. So Cassie had already mentioned making sure to watch out for sodium, but something that we like to say a lot is out with the old and in with the new. Just something to keep in mind when you're preparing things in your kitchen. Whatever was in your fridge first should be eaten first. So another tip for this is just take an inventory of your fridge every couple days. If you don't know what's on a shelf and it's disappeared into the big black abyss of your fridge, so that's not good news. So make sure to keep tabs on that. Trying using new spices, again, we mentioned this before, just go down the spice aisle, choose something new, and create more diversity in your food options. Theme dinner or family cook-off, we just instituted Waffle Wednesdays, breakfast for dinner. My family really likes it, and we get those chia seeds in there, but make sure that we're having a very diverse meal, but also being creative and keeping it fun. So soups, chilies, stir fries, again, you're able to use frozen, fresh, or canned produce options to be able to create those. So our first recipe that we want to share with you is PB roll-ups. This one is super family friendly. So it's very, very simple using tortillas, nut butters. Tortillas can go in the freezer. You can keep them in the fridge. They don't last so long on the counter. But after you have your ingredients, you can have your children or family or friends, anybody who's in your direct vicinity, especially during this time, be able to help you prepare it. You can just spread it, roll it up. You can add in hazelnut butter just for a splash of chocolate flavor if you're feeling it. It's great for a snack or breakfast. The fruit salad also is something very simple. There's no dressing needed. It just requires you to cut up whatever produce you have on hand. Usually things that are going to spoil first are best to use in this. Another hack that we like to do is just put in frozen sliced bananas. It sometimes makes it more refreshing, but this is a great way to get your vitamin C as well.
And then last but not least, harvest soup. So this one might look a little bit more complicated, but really we wanted to use this as an example to show you that this is one of those recipes where if you have fresh, frozen, or canned, it doesn't matter. Any type of vegetable that you want to use, you just kind of throw in, you saute it with, I love garlic. Everything in my house gets sauteed with a little bit of garlic and onion. So, you saute the garlic and onion, throw whatever vegetables that you want in there. This is a personal favorite of mine that my neighbor has made for me before. Add a little bit stock if you want vegetable stock, chicken stock, whatever you want, even bone broth, a little bit of protein in there for you. And then you've got a really nice hearty soup. You can even have an option to add maybe some sausage in there as well if you wanted a little bit more, meat in there. But this is another example, like I said, fresh, frozen, canned. This is definitely something that you can use in this recipe. So just a couple key reminders. If you didn't hear anything that we've said for the last 20 minutes, these are the things that we really, really, really want you to remember. Make nutrition a priority. Do not use this as an excuse just to say like, oh, I'm going to eat whatever I want. Continue to eat those fruits and vegetables. Don't shy away from frozen or canned produce if that's the option that you have. Make sure that you're consuming foods that are rich in protein, vitamin C, and vitamin D so you can support your body's immune system. Use this time to try new recipes. Make nutrition a priority again. That's how important we think it is. We've put it in there twice. And then also, when you can, make sure you get the entire family involved and really kind of make mealtime a fun family event. So now we're going to open for any questions. The first one I see is, if I can't get fresh fruits or vegetables, can I just take a vitamin supplement instead? Generally speaking, we do like to say food first. So, supplements can be helpful if you're already deficient in a nutrient and using food is not helping you, correct that deficiency. But I think it's more important to really focus on, food instead of buying supplements that might be a little bit costly. So as we mentioned in the presentation, if you can't get fresh, don't be afraid of canned or frozen.
The next question is, what's the best way to wash my fruits and vegetables? So I know we're all using our soap sparingly, but I highly recommend having some sort of like watered down soap bottle in your kitchen near your sink. So that way you can best be able to easily and quickly wash your fruits and vegetables, even cans, in the best way before incorporating them into whatever food that you're eating.
The next question is about herbal supplements and remedies. There are a slew of different things out there. I've even seen a lot of supplement companies kind of trying to market on the fact that we've got this pandemic going on, but kind of similar to the question that we answered before, definitely food first. There is some research that links specific herbal remedies to having antimicrobial or antiviral properties, but once again, you can find some of those in food as well. So specifically garlic has antimicrobial and antiviral properties, but it is important to remember that with garlic, it has to be consumed raw. So that might be great to maybe use in like a pesto or a hummus, but still getting those, same benefits without having to spend money on supplements where you might not know, the quality or even the source of them. The next question, with COVID-19 in mind, are there specific foods or beverages to boost immunity? I don't really want to say boost immunity. I don't know if that's really the right word. It's more about supporting our immune system and supporting our body's natural ability to defend us against certain things. So we did cover some of the ones in this presentation, like protein, vitamin D, vitamin C. A few of the other ones, zinc and omega-3 is also linked to immune health. And those are things, as I mentioned before, that you can get through consuming fruits and vegetables with omega-3s, definitely through fish, chia seeds, some nuts. So once again, really focusing on that food first. And if you're just eating a well-balanced diet that, is predominantly, lean meats, fruits, fruits and vegetables, then you should hopefully be getting those necessary nutrients in.
Next question is, how can I store my fruits and vegetables to stay fresh longer? This is something that we practice daily in our kitchen. The main thing to keep in mind is that onions and potatoes should never mix. Onions have a mind of their own and a strong stench, so it's really important you can keep them on the counter, not the fridge, and they'll best stay fresh longer there. Citrus fruit, you can prolong their longevity in the fridge. They can actually last up for a couple of weeks when they're in the fridge. And in general, there's when produce items are becoming ripe, they release a gas called ethylene, and it has effects on different vegetables. So there's certain fruits and vegetables that should be kept separate, and then there's certain fruits and vegetables that you should keep on the counter until they're ripe, and then you should place them in the fridge. So that would be like an avocado. Bananas do best on the counter, and other items such as apples or pears. Again, you can keep them until they're ripe on the counter, but then best to keep them in the fridge to last as long as possible.
Okay, and the last question that I see right now is how to store leftovers, or how long can we store leftovers? And I'm actually going to let Jesse take that one.
Yeah, sure. So the current recommendation is up to 7 days max. We like to, especially during this time, say 5 days, because you never know where it's been before it actually got to your home. Like, have you been storing it? Has it been in an airtight container? That's really important to keep in mind. And then we highly recommend do the sniff and taste test before you serve it to your family. And if something tastes off, don't just season it. That's a clear sign for you to not use it in what you're cooking. And again, because our goal here is to really support our immune system and not take away from it in any way possible.
Next one is ginger helpful to supporting your immune system. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you the specific properties that are in ginger, but I do know that, it is used in certain remedies when you're not feeling well. And so I think that in addition to a well-balanced diet, it could definitely be a tool that you could use. The next question is, instead of buying frozen fruits, can I buy fresh and freeze myself? How long will they last? So I do that with my greens when I've noticed that towards the end of the week that I'm definitely not going to consume all that kale or spinach that I purchased. And so I'll definitely rinse it off and then freeze it. And then it's great to use in smoothies and whatnot. But I think that, as we mentioned, frozen is picked at that optimal freshness. So it's really got a lot of nutrients in it, and then it's frozen. And so those nutrients are kind of kept there. If you wanted something frozen, then I would just say go ahead and purchase the frozen. As I mentioned, with fresh, the more time that's gone on since it's been picked, the longer or less nutrients that it's going to have in it. So just something to think about. If you're trying to do it to prevent waste, then by all means go for it. But if you're just doing it because you think maybe there might be some more nutrients in it, I think it would try to help you to think about, okay, well, how long has it been since, this has been picked? Are you buying it from a local farmer and it's been picked in the last 24 hours? Or did you get it at the grocery store where it probably has been, a couple days since it was picked, transferred, and put out at the store?
I see the next question is there a higher concern in terms of the spread of COVID-19 when preparing and eating meat, such as chicken, pork, turkey, or beef? Really good question. I think right now they're still being produced, and there's been regulations in place in all manufacturing sites for the safety of the public. What we're encouraging here is best safety food practices. So what that means is before you prepare food, wash your hands. During the preparation of food, if you are moving from chicken to eggs, wash your hands in between. The surfaces that you're using should be disinfected just like hopefully you would normally. And then once you're done, of course, making sure to wash your hands again. So these are going to be the best safety food practices. Cooking to a certain temperature is also food practice depending on the item that you're cooking, and it's a certain internal temperature also help to make sure that it is cooked to optimum level to make sure that any bacteria present is not there anymore. So that would be really, really important just for food practice and food safety in general for proper eating.
The next question is one about wearing gloves and a mask and being told the mask doesn't really work. I speak for myself, and I think Jesse as well. We know and love food and not as well versed in the mask. And so I think I would just have to defer to what the CDC recommendations are about, washing your hands, trying to avoid touching your face, social distancing, and helpful habits such as eating nutritious foods.
If
Um,
there's was there any more? If there's no other questions at this time, Cassie and I would like to thank everyone for their time for this webinar. It's been a pleasure being able to talk about some of the topics that we love, and we wish everyone the best health and being able to support their immune system in the best way going forward during this challenging period of time.
Thank you guys.